foolish servants trying to help the genuine pure devotee of the Lord. Although Prabhupada credited his disciples knew that Prabhupada was Krishna's empowered representative. He was their authority and personal link to Krishna. His words and actions evinced full transcendental potency. As Krishna was unlimited, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna's dearmost friend, was entitled to demand unlimited service on Krishna's behalf. In the service of Krishna, no project was impossible. Impossible, Prabhupada said, was the word in a fool's dictionary. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Oh, thank you. So this on Vaishnav calendar, there are some couple of things to mention. Actually, it's quite significant day as mentioned before. So Tulasi Shalagram Vivaha. This is called the wedding of Shalagram and Tulasi Devi. The pastime of the appearance and marriage of Shalagram and Tulasi Devi are as follows. Dharmadvaj and his wife Madhavi were very devotedly worshipped Lakshmi Devi to gain her favor, and thus a plenary portion of Lakshmi entered Madhavi Devi's womb. On Kartik Purnima, at a time marked with every auspicious sign, Madhavi gave birth to an exquisitely beautiful young girl, never aging beyond 16 years. Her beauty stole the mind and heart of everyone, and being impossible to compare her with anyone else, she became known as Tulasi, matchless. Leaving home, Tulasi went to Badrivan, where she performed severe penances with a desire in her mind that Lord Narayan himself become her husband. Brahmaji appeared before her and asked what boon she desired. Tulasi explained to him, in my previous birth, I was a gopi named Tulasi. By my wonderful good fortune, I was able to become the very dearly beloved maidservant of Lord Krishna. One day in the Rasara Mandala, Shrimati Radharani angrily cursed me to be born on the earth in human society. Thus, leaving my divine body, I have taken my birth on the earth in this present form. Now, I desire the boon of attaining Lord Narayan as my husband. Lord Brahma replied, there was one coward boy named Sudama who also received Srimati Radharani's curse to be born on the earth. By that curse, he has been born in the family of demons and is now famous on the earth as Sankachuda. He has done extreme penances to attain certain boons and to get you as his wife. Thus, in this life, he will become your husband for some time. Later, by the influence of Lila, you will curse Lord Narayan, but accepting your curse, Lord Narayan will then become your husband. Lord Vishnu will love you more dearly than his own life, and without your presence, all puja will be fruitless. By my boon, becoming the presiding deity of all the trees, you will freely enjoy unlimited happiness in the constant association of Lord Vishnu. Sankachuda also received his desired boon from Lord Brahma. He got an all auspicious protective shield Kavacha as well, and the benediction that as long as the chastity of his wife was not violated, no one would be able to kill him. Thus, becoming very arrogant, he began to terrorize all the demigods and human beings. Lord Shiva, being requested by the demigods, went personally to fight with Sankachuda. Meanwhile, Lord Vishnu made a plan to destroy the chastity of Tulasi. He went to the place where Lord Shiva was fighting with the demon, and assuming the form of a Brahmana, he asked Sankachuda for his protective shield in charity. Then the Lord went to see Tulasi. Deceiving her in this way, he began to enjoy with her as if he were her husband, and thus broke her chastity. The Bhavishya Purana goes for great length to point out that there was certainly no fault on Lord Vishnu's part. He wanted to maintain the benediction given by his devotee, Lord Brahma, to Sankachuda, and at the same time he wanted to protect the demigods and devotees. For this purpose, he created this particular pastime with the appearance of improper behavior. But since Tulasi is the plenary part of Lakshmi Devi, she is actually the wife of Lord Vishnu. At that very moment, Lord Shiva killed Sankachuda on the battlefield. When the Tulasi understood all that had happened, she said, "By deceiving me, you have broken my chastity and killed my husband. You are absolutely stone hearted. Thus I curse you to remain on the earth as a stone." Lord Hari said, "For many years you underwent very difficult penances to achieve me. At the same time, Sankachuda has also done severe penances to get you. By the result of his austerity, he enjoyed you as his wife and has now gone to Goloka. Now you will get the fruit of your penances. Leaving this mortal body and taking a divine form, you will always remain with me. Your present body shall turn into the river Gandaki, and from your hair will grow many trees famous as Tulasi. To fulfill your curse, I will become a stone, Shalagram Shila, and will always live on the banks of the Gandaki river. The millions of worms who live in that place will adorn those stones with the signs of my chakra by carving them with their sharp teeth. After this, Lord Vishnu began to dwell perpetually in the waters of the Gandaki river in the form of stones. The Brihanaradiya Purana warns that if one worships a Shalagam Shila and doesn't offer tulsi leaves, then his house is considered equal to a cremation ground. There, Shri Narada Muni says it is impossible to explain the importance of tulsi leaves in the worship of Shalagram Shila, as tulsi is the most beloved consort of Hari in the form of Shalagram Shila. So this is a story of how Shalagram Shilas appeared and how tulsi appeared. Are they? That's nice. Shri Tulasi Shalagram Vivaha Ki Jai. It is also an appearance of Shri Nimbarkacharya. Shri Nimbarkacharya preached Krishna consciousness about 300 years before the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Navadvip Mahatyam, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Nimbarka had previously worshipped Lord Shiva in Bilva Paksha, Rudradvip, Navadvip, which is the same place where Lord Chaitanya appeared. Lord Shiva appeared before Nimbarka, instructing him to take initiation from the four Kumaras who were meditating nearby. Nimbarka received Radha Krishna mantra and continued living in Navadvip. Following the teachings of the Sanat Kumar Samhita, he worshipped Radha and Krishna with great love. Soon, Radha and Krishna appeared before Nimbarka. Then the divine couple displayed their unified form as Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Lord Gauranga said, "Nimbarka, in the future when I begin my Sankirtan movement, I will personally preach the perfect transcendental philosophy of Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. I will take the essence of the philosophies of Madhva, Ramanuja, and Vishnu Swami. From you, Nimbarka, I will take two important principles. One, the necessity of taking shelter of Srimati Radharani, and two, the high esteem of the Vraja Gopis' love for Shri Krishna." Lord Gauranga disappeared after instructing Nimbarka. Shedding tears of ecstasy, Nimbarka left Navadvip to begin his preaching mission. In Chaitanya Lila, Nimbarka appeared as Keshava Kashmiri and received love of Godhead directly from Nimai Pandit. There are striking similarities between the Gaudiyas and the Nimbarkas. The followers of Nimbarka accept the six forms of surrender, practice the nine limbs of bhakti, and believe in Dasamula, 10 cardinal points of Gaudiya philosophy. They also worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. They worship Srimati Radharani as the topmost devotee, and they accept the gopis' love for Krishna as supreme. With beats, bhajan, and kirtan, the Nimbarkas chant their version of the Mahamantra Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. In Vrindavan, about 1 mile from Govardhan, there is a village of Nimgaon, named after Nimbarkacharya, who lived there from childhood and later performed pastimes there. Many of Radha Krishna's pastime places in Vrindavan are now maintained by the Nimbarka sect. In Mathura Vrindavan, innumerable devotees follow Nimbarka's path of bhakti. The Shriji Mandir just off Loy Bazar in Vrindavan serves as the center of Nimbarka Sambrataya. Shri Nimbarkacharya ki jai. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 9, text number 51. Magavan yata badramvo Magavan yata badramvo Dadyancham rishi satamam Dadyancham rishi satamam Vidyavrata tapatsaram Vidyavrata tapatsaram Gatram yachatamachiram Gatram yachatamachiram Magavan yata badramvo Dadyancham rishit satamam Vidyavrata tapasaram Gatram yachatamachiram Magavan yata badramvo Dadyancham rishit satamam Vidyavrata tapasaram Gatram yachatamachiram Magavan yata badrambo Dadyancham rishi satamam Vidyavrata tapasaram Gatram yachatamachiram Magavan yata badrambo Dadyancham rishi satamam Vidyavrata tapasaram Gatram yachatamachiram Bhagavan yata badrambo Dadyancham rishi satamam Vidyavrata tapasaram Gatram yachatamachiram Magavan yata badramvo Dadyancham rishi satamam Vidyavrata tapasaram Gatram yachatamachiram Magavan. O Indra, Yata, go, Badram, good fortune, Vaha, to all of you, Dadyancham, to Dadyancha, Rishisat Tamam, the most exalted saintly person, Vidya of education, Vrata, wow, Tapa, and austerities, Saram, the essence, Gatram, his body, Yachata, ask for. Machiram, without delay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Magavan, Indra, all good fortune unto you. I advise you to approach the exalted saint, the Dyancha, the Dichi. He has become very accomplished in knowledge, vows, and austerities, and his body is very strong. Go ask him for his body without delay. Report. Everyone in this material world, from Lord Brahma down to the ant, is eager to keep his body comfortable. A pure devotee may also be comfortable, but he is not eager for such a benediction. Since Magavan, the king of heaven, still aspired for a comfortable bodily situation, Lord Vishnu advised him to ask the Dhyancha for his body, which was very strong due to his knowledge, vows, and austerity. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripata maham vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. So the translation again. O Magavan Indra, all good fortune unto you. I advise you to approach the exalted saint, the Dhyanchi, the Dichi. He has become very accomplished in knowledge, vows, and austerities, and his body is very strong. Go ask him for his body without delay. So there is this Sanskrit term called Badram, which means good fortune. It's often you will come across in Bhagavatam in the statement Badram Te, which means may there be a good fortune to you. I'd like to wish all the present here good fortune is actually to look for absolute truth, to hear transcendental sound vibration. That is a very, very rare and great fortune. We have that opportunity, or to even seek for this opportunity by conscious endeavor or by some, even some accident. You may happen to come to volunteer at Eco Farm and you get opportunity to hear transcendental sound vibration. It is the greatest fortune because the transcendental sound vibration leads us into opportunity for solving many, many problems of life that ultimately emanate from bodily concept of life. As we read here, most of the world are absorbed in a bodily concept, thinking that we are this body, thinking we are this mind. It's a bodily identification. And it is, of course, some degree it is natural because we have a body. So that's a reality. We cannot ignore this fact that we do have the body is there, but we are a lot more than a body. And also, some people become more conscious and aware, especially when they start doing meditation, that they're actually not the mind, neither, because often we don't even realize it. That voice that accompanies us, throughout our life, saying, I want this, I don't want that. Uh, we considered maybe this is me. It sounds very natural. Or, there is a discriminatory power, the voice of discriminatory power. I would like to achieve this in life. I would like to go this direction, and etc. It's also a voice in our head. So until we start practicing meditation, we start thinking, actually, this voice is me. But when you start doing meditation and you try to focus your mind, bring your attention to whatever form of meditation you're doing, the mind will sometimes, or not sometimes, most of the time will protest and try to kind of bring some stuff that happened yesterday, start to bring some stuff that I still need to do, and will be quite a challenge to keep it in the present or keep it focused, or may even get disturbed. So you start realizing that actually I'm not even this voice in my head, because when I try to do and ask, and try to control this voice, okay, let's do this, it's protesting, it's not doing what I want to do. So you start realizing it actually that I'm not this mind, and as you continue on a spiritual journey, you start realizing that I am actually something else. There is another identity beyond this body. There's another identity beyond this mind and intelligence, and false ego. There's a very interesting phenomenon called false ego. Is the ability of oneself to identify, to take a certain identity. Why it is called false? Because our identity is beyond these things that we just mentioned already. It's actually spirit, soul, atma, and its symptom is consciousness. But because we have a tendency to identify with the body, with the mind and intelligence, therefore it's called false ego. Uh, so therefore, spiritual life, one of the most fundamental principles is to regain our lost identity, because it's very, very powerful. With identity, it comes the mission. With identity, it comes purpose. With identity, it comes meaning. And what happens when we are misidentified? If we think that we are body alone, then the whole goal in life becomes to make body comfortable, as we read about here, because Indra, he wasn't so advanced, although he approached Lord Narayan for benediction. He asked for material benediction. Technically, he was trying to protect one's body and one's status, one's position, because he is like a king of heaven. A lot of things we can learn from Indra, of things what not to do. When you become, it's a challenge, to be in some sort of managerial position, and Indra is a king of heaven. He's not purely motivated. He's got some still material desires for power and control, and etc. It hasn't realized fully his eternal spiritual identity, and therefore some various kind of bodily um, kind of goals for power and control and etc. is there still in him, and with that kind of bodily identity comes the desire for comfort, and with the power and control and influence and the money, it seems to be that this gives you that facility to enjoy the comforts. Shikodanitai, my Purushashiki. And, yeah, so it seems from that level of realizing or understanding that I'm this body, it seems that the way to be happy is to increase more and more comforts for the body. And if you analyze what's going on in the world throughout the history, and like even more now, it's actually that this bodily identity, it gives you illusion, but it gives you that goal and aspiration because of that illusion, that let me increase those bodily comforts, and that will make me happy. So people build skyscrapers. People, yes, people build skyscrapers. People build big, huge, massive empires and soft, very, very soft beds and very nice cars and all sorts of modern. Sorry, what did this? All sorts of modern kind of comforts are there to increase some sort of comfort for the body. But however, we can see that people are not becoming happy because of that increased bodily comfort. Although the body may be more comfortable and the life seem to be more comfortable, but the reality of the situation is that it hasn't increased happiness because we are not a body. Body is a machine. So just because it's called yantra in Sanskrit. So just because the body is a bit more comfortable and etc., a bit warmer, and it's got some nice clothing or a nice comfortable situation, it doesn't satisfy the soul. That reality, that comfort doesn't satisfy the soul. So despite of, you could say in one sense, at least in this specific, cycle of universal history, uh, we have reached, like a peak of bodily comfort. Despite of the fact, are we reached the peak of happiness? Is it proportionate that with the bodily comfort? Is there a direct correlation that we have become happy? And the answer is no, absolutely not. It's very, very clear. That is not a fact. If you analyze our own life, if you analyze what's going on in the world, if you analyze of the life of the people who have very much of bodily comfort in their life, that is definitely not the case. So therefore, this bodily identity, it doesn't help. It doesn't help us because it's not who we are. In order to be happy, we have to establish and understand that we are the spirit, we are the soul, and we need to understand what gives happiness to the soul. Then we are addressing problem at the very root. Of course, the body will still, even when you have a full realization that you are a soul, still the body will be there. There will be certain degree of comforts necessary, but it's not the goal in life. So there will be some necessity to go from point A to point B. You need a roof over your head, and you may need a little bit of heating to kind of that you don't freeze, that your body doesn't freeze. But it's not just like a full endeavor and full energy in life. It's just to do that, which has become, present day civilization. And also because of that, unbelievable amount of problems come from bodily identification. If you look at the major problems in this world, like of wars, this is my country, this is your country. It's again bodily identification. This is my nationality. This is my country. why you came here, or let me increase my power by taking your country, etc., etc. There's so many things are root causes. Racism as well comes from bodily identification and so many other things. So if we can change our deepen or and to understanding of our identity to its ultimate root, uh, essential thing, we realize that we are spirit. And what is the function of the spirit? The function of the spirit is to love unconditionally the Supreme Being. This is why the Spirit came into existence, to have an everlasting, never-ending loving exchanges with the Supreme Soul. So the Soul is there, and the Supreme Soul is Krishna. And by having that loving relationship, this is the greatest happiness that doesn't end with the end of this body. So are there any questions or comments on this point? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Prabhu. I've heard the phrase said that if the whole world stops eating meat, then there will be no more wars. I wonder if you could talk about this a bit.
Thank you. Yes, just by being non-violent to the human beings and being violent to animals, that's not a compassion. That violent mentality still remains because the animals are being harmed. And when there is violence, there is harm, there's a karmic reaction that comes with it. And it's described in the Vedic literature, and that the wars, pandemics, the deadly diseases are the result of how we treat animals. And with the improvement of how we treat animals, those things will reduce. And while this very, very prominent, especially cows, out of all animals, the cow slaughter has got the highest karmic reaction. So with promotion of non-violence to the animals, then the wars and the pandemics, the diseases and etc. will reduce significantly. I don't know if that answers your question. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
A question about the translation of this. When he says to ask for his body of the saint, it's because he's talking about the spiritual body that he has developed, but it's like his Indra doesn't, like he was searching something else from him when he goes and asks for this.
So it will unfold over the time, but I mean, this is not something that you come across so much in a modern day, that somebody asks for the body. I mean, in one sense, it is happening, like with organ donors. So like when the body dies or something, some people subscribe, okay, my heart can be used for somebody else or some purpose. So this is a little bit similar principle that Lord Narayan is recommending to approach the saintly person who's got this very powerful body. And there's some, anyway, we'll read it over the next few days, but just the principle that uh, because we are not this body, and like if the body dies, technically it can be used as a, the organs can be used as a vessel, to help somebody else. So this similar principle is going to unfold, but in a more kind of esoteric sense. So that will happen, because they were threatened Indra and the demigods were threatened by this very powerful terrorist Vritrasura demon, and they approached Lord Narayan for help. So Narayan is giving solution: go to the saintly person because he's got a very powerful body. And another interesting thing that I didn't mention, but across my mind, is about how I was saying that because of knowledge, because of austerity and vows, his body is very strong. So actually what makes weak the body very weak is over sense gratification. It's very, very interesting concept because, now people think, that if I really sensually exercise myself, that will make me strong. But actually you can see that despite of the fact that our medicine is very strong, people are mentally quite weak and even physically are not very strong. It's because our sensual gratification, irregular habits, bad habits, not having a day regime, all these things makes actually body weaker and weaker, physically and mentally. Because when you speak about body, there's a physical as well and subtle body. So this over gratification, physical, sensual, emotional over gratification makes the body very weak. And also what happens with over gratification, because it has like a saturation point where essentially you reach a certain point and the experience decreases. It is no long, you have to increase the thrill to get sensual experience. So it's kind of therefore people invent more and more different ways that even the pain, it can become gratification because people become so desensitized. Even the pain can become, like gratification because with desensitization you don't feel so much anymore, and also you start even treating each other, rather than treating as a person.
More.
Yes, it's more like a treating each other as a body, or treating each other as some sort of source of sensual pleasure, and then goes under the banner of love.
It develops perversion, no? Like when it
That's
reaches
also
that point where it doesn't get any more pleasure, it turns perverse.
that's
You
also
see.
there leads to various types of perversions too. That's true. Thank you. Any other question, anybody?
I was thinking also maybe for Indra. No, you were saying like for him it was more. It's a difficult position not to be in such place of power. And yesterday you were asking how do we see when Krishna takes the benedictions of him is to take things from us. I think it's much harder in a point to try to realize and to grow when you have less kind of difficulties or challenges as we do, because if you are unlimited, it's much easier not to fall maybe in this, like almost unlimited, no, but it's easier to fall in this trap of, well, there is no one else higher than me and I don't need anything, I got everything, no. And I think when sometimes we lost things, we got the chance or to get angry and more attached to what we lost, or to finally let it go and see that we don't need it. But if you got everything, you are the king of heaven, it's really, it must be just higher challenge, because what seems to be a bliss not to have everything, at the end it ends up being more complicated for your soul to to finally, like you said, that he had to come to a final realization, no? Like, doesn't sound so cool.
Yeah, it's obviously a big challenge to be in a position of power. That's why it's so crucial to not to have like a enlightened leadership, people who are very spiritually strong. And there's also a tendency when you can be spiritually strong, and that may take you to the position of leadership. But if you then neglect your spiritual practices, and then in that position, various types of, whatever weaknesses we may have and impurities, they become more prominent because there's like a pressure of that position is there. So therefore, one has to very strongly maintain spiritual practices when one gets more opportunity for influence or position. And technically, the position is meant to serve and not to control and exploit. It is meant to serve. So therefore, if one neglects spiritual practices, there's a danger, in that position. Uh, that material tendency is gonna come back, and you can see the challenge of Indra constantly is coming up, to him because he's not a pure devotee, and he's kind of enjoying material facilities and comforts constantly and regularly. He gets into this trouble, and always worrying about the position, always trying to protect the position, and that's why this demon was kind of threatening his situation, although actually demon is a pure devotee. Later on we find out that Vitrasura, who is threatening the demigods, is actually a pure devotee of the Lord. um, so therefore, maintaining one's spiritual principles and practices with the growth of responsibility is crucial, because if not, then it can be bewildering, it can be distracting, and it can also, create suffering to those that's supposed to be served. The leadership position is supposed to serve the people, and of course, ultimately bring them to spiritual life, lead them to Krishna, and lead them to Goloka Vrindavan. But that can go out of the picture due to the weak spiritual practices. So, that's why, unfortunately, in religious circles in general, people has lost, their faith, because there's a lot of kind of hypocrisy, and it looks like there is a lot of people who's supposed to be spiritual, but they not demonstrate the spiritual qualities and etc.
I know that in the regular Catholic Church there has been a lot of children abuse and so on, but I didn't know that in the Krishna community had happened, and I imagine that must be, when you see it, like it's like on Catholicism, we are like, yeah, these people have been doing this for like so long. But I imagine that if you are part of a community that has had Prabhupada so short ago, no, so it means like it's just like blooming, and even if it dates of an ancient knowledge, it's like the Hare Krishnas as the singing and so on. In the Western world, it's kind of new, no, for the Western world, it's a new thing. So I imagine it must have been super hard for the devotees still on the temple to discover that people so close to them, that they were on this power position where they have to organize this, allow this to happen. Like I think it, from inside you must feel like it's a special kind of sadness, because the whole meaning of the scriptures is about the purity of intention, no, and this keeping this work. And so I think now, but I think it's maybe it's a good thing to that happen, and everyone can learn, and then be more attentive to take care of each other, and not be on a like, okay, I'm doing well my thing, I don't know what he's doing, and this, I think it must have been something that for what I have seen, I have met always such a strong devotion on the Hare Krishna movement, that I know that I never met anyone that I could say it wouldn't have broken his heart to see that. It's not like I saw so many people like in Catholic Church, maybe, not so interested on becoming pure and becoming a good devotee, and make it grow this consciousness. So yes, I imagine that it must be now like double eyes on, not to judge others, no, but just to be more aware that when one part of the community falls into this pretension, like it's so subtle Maya in that sense, no, that with the material things you can see, okay, these people is harvesting, material things. But when you have this position where you can say to someone, no, what you're saying, it's not, it's really difficult not to say, okay, then it's on the shoulders of others, that are also in a higher position to take care of that. And that must be, now it's like more, you don't only have to take care of your growth and keep yourself pure, and then your intention, do your work, your spiritual work, but now your spiritual work is so, like, to take care of a community is one thing, but to take care of others that are on the same position must be really challenging. Like, how do you manage to, to keep an eye on that, but not like the balance, no, but at the same time to not also you fall on that to keep too many eyes on the others, not see yourself, no.
Thank you. Thank you for a very good question. Yes, this is a very, very difficult age that we're living in. And of course, the spiritual tradition is open to everyone. So everybody can come and invited, to come and have opportunity to purify their existence, purify their heart. And but people come with different intentions and different goals. Not necessarily everybody can come. Not everybody necessarily comes for this ultimate goal of finding pure love of Krishna. We read in Bhagavad Gita, there's people come distressed, people come just being a bit inquisitive, and some people come for some economic development, which includes some sort of position, status quo, and etc. And also somebody may come with pure intention, but you get tested along the way. What do you really want? Do you really want this pure, unconditional love, or do you have some other motives? And sometimes those tests is difficult to pass. So the Krishna consciousness movement is not free from problems, and the process is very powerful. It is definitely purifying, but if you don't apply it, if you're if you're cooking something, and if you don't put the heat on, the thing is not gonna cook, or may get burnt, etc. So there is that kind of thing, that certain things may seem, like, not appropriate or not good, or some people compromise and don't aim, for purity, and all sorts of things, can be there as well, because everybody's individual. So one should not lose faith when these things are there. It's gonna be people who are not aiming at pure devotion, or they may temporarily become covered and not aiming for that. So that is there. But actually, we read on Sunday, then one should also decide why we came ourselves. Or we came to find people who are not exemplifying what it is, what is supposed to be, or do we come to find people who are exemplifying, and to follow those teachings and perfect one's life as well. So there's always, everywhere, in any discipline, every sphere of life, there's gonna be good examples, and there's gonna be not such a good examples. So we can make a choice that because there are bad examples, we may think, okay, this is not working, it's not for me, I will give it up myself, and the one do it. Or we find the good examples, even it's just a very few. Maybe it's just a very few, but that example can be sufficient to inspire us. As we read on Sunday, actually, it says, basically says, that there may be pseudo devotees, there may be non-devotees in the moment, but one should not, but one should find pure devotees and should find a spiritual teacher who is our pure, despite of the fact that there is non-devotees and pseudo-devotees. One should focus on those who are, and follow them and perfect one's life. So I don't know, this is a very, very big question that you raised, but just a couple of thoughts. There's a couple of thoughts on that. But I have to need to finish the lecture, but we could discuss in breakfast if you like. Thank you. So I'll stop here. And of course, if something is wrong, we have to take responsibility for it. There's a two ways to deal. Some people, if somebody decides to tolerate because they don't have a power to do anything, that's one way. Another thing is to actually take responsibility and make things right, and that will revive faith of some people who faith maybe get affected if they see things are not perfect. So we need to give people that space that things are may not be perfect, but that we want them to be perfect. We have a perfect examples, or very good examples. We have a very good teachings. We have a powerful process. It's just how to create a culture where we can properly practice it. Because if we have a very powerful process, but there may not be environment for it to practice it, then it's gonna be a lot of anarthas, unwanted things to the heart, and the purity may not just lift and manifest, and things can remain to some extent pseudo. But you want to adjust the culture and create a culture where the foremost is the spiritual culture, where the purity then brings out the soul, and the qualities of the soul. And it has to be vigilant, it has to be constantly, because there may be periods and things that seem to be not bad, and you can go astray, and you have to bring it back. It's a constant endeavor in our personal life. That same challenge, if you look on our life, we can go through this very great period and then very challenging period, and we go astray, and we can go back as well on track, and it happens in a community, in a society. So sorry, I'll have to stop now.
That's why it's surprising so much, because you can actually see it's not some like hypothesis. No, it's really a process of purification. So I was surprised because this is such a kind of this schizophrenic, can keep on like this at the soul level, but kind of a challenge point with that, because you have to give a practice that every day after I think, yes, of course you can do it superficially maybe, and you don't get so much of it, but if you really actually really intend to know and practice and then if you are, not superficially doing, if you are more deep in your practice, chanting, for example, and you eat with my consciousness and everything. Not because
where is your
the
mind?
church people is like, I don't know. I think that there is not so many steps. There are some steps that are really similar, like